I'm Ellis Genge, and you're listening to Bears Beyond the Gate podcast.
You're listening to Bears Beyond the Gate, a Bristol Bears podcast made by fans for fans, with 3 regulars at Ashton Gate who love the club, the game and all things Bears. Well, boys, this is a Sunday afternoon game. We've come straight from the game. No script, no rehearsals, no nothing.
No batteries.
Well, hopefully batteries, but we'll keep an eye on that. And we're down at the Bristol Beer Factory tap room. We've not even been home since the game, but we're going to try and record this pod as quick and as efficiently as we can. But before we do that, we feel that there needs to be some sort of apology issued, or some sort of comment or statement issued by Miles, because in last week's pod, Miles referred to Benetton as a tin pot rugby team, or tin pot Italian rugby team. Now, in his defence, we don't do any scripting, we don't do any rehearsing, and we do barely any editing. So these sort of things...
And we never will.
And we never will. So these sort of things can happen. And in a way, it is part of the game. But we did feel, particularly since we'd been speaking to Andy Uren and it talked about Benetton and the fact that Benetton have got loads of international rugby players in there, we felt that Miles needs to make a statement. But before Miles does it, Lee wants to say something.
Yeah, I just want to say, actually, I'm going to defend Miles on this point.
Which is rare.
Yeah, it is very rare, because normally me and Miles, are opposite ends of the agreement scale. But I feel that if Miles felt it was a tin pot Italian team, then he said it, and I actually love the fact that he was honest.
But I do think that honesty has to come with evidence.
Yeah.
And
Where is
Benetton,
the evidence? That's
to be fair to Benetton, they're doing quite well in the URC. As I pointedly say, they have most of the Italian national team in them, and I would be interested to know where Miles got the evidence for tin pot.
I think, I'm going back to probably my historical evidence of Six Nations teams 6+ years ago.
Yeah.
Okay, and where Italian teams were not really at the forefront of winning the Six Nations.
We're talking wooden spooners, aren't we?
Yeah, we're talking wooden spoons, and sadly, that sort of transjected my opinion toward the Italian teams of the URC.
It's understandable.
Yeah, that's understandable, and I was quite wrong. And based on today, I was very wrong, because they nearly flipping beat us by two disallowed tries, and as a result, we had some banter with Andy Uren, who's a ex-Bristol player, a bloody good lad, and I used a bit of Google Translate, lads, to find out.
So you don't want to call Benetton a tin pot Italian club now? What would you prefer to call them, Miles?
Well, I would prefer to call them an extremely good, challenging European Cup team, which was showed today. However, showing my humble pie around this podcast, I would like to admit that I used a bit of Google Translate this week and found out the Italian translation to tin pot, which was vaso di latta. I've put my humble pie hat on, and apologies, but we just about got the win. But let's just retract that statement, and the fact that they're doing pretty well in the URC. They did nearly flipping beat us today, and Andy had an absolute blinder. And we'll move on from that, shall we?
Molto bene.
Yeah. Let's move on. So well done, Miles. Okay, before we get into the game,
we've got to do some shout-outs.
We've got to do some shout-outs, because the reason we want to do some shout-outs, because today's game a Sunday afternoon game does feel a bit different to a Friday night game. And if you add on the fact that maybe there wasn't quite as much pressure today about the result. I mean, obviously we want to win every time. We just had very sociable afternoon, and it was just so great to sort of interact with people that we've met basically through this podcast, like people we meet every week. And we felt, before we talk about the game, we'll talk about the thing that we really love, and is actually bantering with people that we've met. So no particular order.
Rugby community,
because that kind of is why we do this. So in no particular order, shout out to John Wood and John Wood's son. However,
We still can't remember his name.
What is his name?
it's my fault because I'm the teacher. I should
John Wood
remember
Jr..
names. So we're going to call him John Wood Jr., but John Wood Jr., we're so sorry. I've completely forgotten your name. We also, through John Wood, we met Mike Bates and Jack Bates' dad. Now Mike Bates, absolutely lovely chat with him after the game.
Brilliant.
Proper rugby man, as is John, I should say.
Yeah.
But also we should mention...
St Brendan's all boys.
St Brendan's Rugby Club.
Yeah.
We should also mention that Mike was the kind of actually facilitated us getting in touch with Andy through Andy's parents to do the interview. So big shout out to Mike. We'd also like to shout out to Debs from K-Town, our friend Debs and her husband Jim. Absolute legendary Bears fans.
Yeah.
Always love to chat to them. We also would like to mention Stoner and Kate.
Yeah.
Who were very, very kindly took Lee's money for a round. It was very kind of them to drink the beers that Lee bought.
No, I think that was more Stoner
That was
than
more
Kate.
Stoner than Kate.
But
okay.
also, I think Kate's friend Helen was there
Helen
as well.
And,
yeah.
we love them. We love seeing them. We love bantering with them.
Brilliant.
Also, Dean,
Yes.
who introduced himself to me at half time. He sits right opposite us. And as a pod listener, and because I had the flag with me today, which we'll talk about later, he realised who we were, had a really nice chat with him, been listening to pod for ages, just loved that fact that he was there.
Yeah.
Also, we'd like to mention our good friends who sit in front of me, one seat in front and one seat behind. So we have Mark, who we love sitting behind Mark. He's a font of all knowledge.
Yeah.
We love chatting to Mark, get a lot of ideas from Mark, and we love Rich behind us, who is right on point when it comes to the rules of rugby.
Offside rules.
And I would say it would be fair to say they are the yin and the yang.
They are the yin and yang
of rugby, Bristol rugby.
Both of them
Yes.
proper rugby men,
Yeah.
but approach it in different ways. Also, I'd like to shout out to my mate Neil Moon, or Mooney, PE teacher at Ashton Park School. We met him over in the Lansdowne because me and Miles went in early today, and we wandered into the Lansdowne to kind of watch the warm up, and we saw Mooney by chance. Was sat there, and then we had a bit of banter with him during the game. So great to see Mooney. Big fan of the pod, which I find really weird, I've got to say, because this is a guy that I work with, who I just, is someone like in my level, of my profession, and he comes and tells me he loves listening to me talk about rugby. I find that bizarre.
That's the beautiful
But I
thing.
also
That's
find it
what we
amazing.
do, though, isn't it?
Yeah. We should also mention our really, really good, what we call our Quins friends, based on our away day at Quins at the end of last season.
Absolutely. Let's go for it.
Mary, Alice, Heather, and recent to the group.
A new addition.
New addition to the group, Mikey. Mary's boyfriend.
He's a Fulham
fan,
supporter,
apparently.
Which we won't hold that against
We won't
him.
hold it against him.
Unless he does anything
Yeah.
wrong to
Exactly.
Mary, and then we will.
But we always love bantering with them. Great to chat to them. Also, we'd like to say massive thanks to Rachel Pearce, a long-time supporter.
Yes.
And also, in the old days when we were on the radio with Jeff Twentyman a lot, Rachel was one of those kind of fans that was on it, who apparently rang the Bristol Beer Factory today and over the phone bought us some drinks.
Yeah,
it's just
really appreciated.
Thank you so much.
And I'd also like to mention my mate Tom Trenchard, who's from my cricket club, who's a massive rugby fan, and his son Harry, who we saw after the game. I always like to see Tommy. And then finally, it kind of links back to Rachel, but we'd also again like to mention Lewis, who is the assistant manager at the Bristol Beer Factory tap room, who is just like a ledge, and he looks after us. And tonight he was a little bit less interactive engaged with us because he was on a date. He was on a date in his own pub, by the way, so it wasn't that much of a date, was it? He's met some girls, said, "Oh, I'll take you out somewhere, just come down the pub because the tap room." But Lewis looks after us every week, and we absolutely love the interaction. He's been on the pod. He's a rugby boy. He's a Gloucester fan, but he's a rugby fan. And we just want to say a massive thanks to Lewis as well.
And I just wanted to add to that. I think Jasmine was the young lady in question tonight that he was having a date with. And I think Lewis is pushing way above his weight.
He's
way
punching
above
high.
his weight. Oh my goodness!
I mean, he's got the gift of the gab, hasn't he? And that'll only take you so far.
Yes.
Yeah, it's when he gets to the business end that he's in trouble. But
there's a certain way that free lunches at the tap room get you free beer. Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, he's wooed us with the free beers. But, so he's got something about him.
Yeah.
Should we talk about the game?
Let's get on with it. Anyway, right. I know one more thing we've got to mention very quickly.
Yeah.
The Sports Podcast Awards.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Last season we went big on it, and we came fourth. And we were fourth after three massive corporate entities that are sponsored.
Yeah.
We entered again because it doesn't cost anything to enter. A little bit of work from me to send some clips. We're shortlisted again, if you can call 10 pods a shortlist. But we're shortlisted again. Looking at the list, we're up against some heavy hitters. A lot of people we have advertised it on our socials. A lot of people have voted, but tomorrow or today, because this will be out on Monday, is the last day of voting. So this is a plea. We're actually begging. If you haven't voted for us, give it a vote and we'll see how we get on.
I'd rather call these the David and Goliath podcast awards. Yeah, because I mean, genuinely, it does feel like we're up against like some massive hitters.
Well, we're up against the For Love of Rugby, Ben Youngs and Dan Cole. We're up against the Rugby Pod, which is Big Jim Hamilton, Andy Good. We got no chance.
Yeah. I mean, these are people that have got corporate sponsorship and everything else. And the one thing we always said is that we'll keep it honest ourselves and no money involved, so we don't sell ourselves out to anyone. And so I think really last year we came fourth, but actually it was first place.
The independent podcast.
Absolutely. But if you could still vote for us, and this year, who knows, maybe we'll come fourth again.
And if the link don't work or that sort of stuff, which is likely, just Google Sports Podcast Awards 2025 and you've basically got till about midnight tomorrow to vote for us. Mm-hmm. And thanks to those who already have, because we know a lot of people have. Yeah. We appreciate that. Anyway, boys, the game.
The game. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
So, third game in the group stages of the Champions Cup. We were sitting proudly on 0 points at the bottom of the table.
You mean last?
Having played two of the massive powerhouses of Europe and actually put up a decent show. Leinster, who took 60 minutes before they could really break us down.
Really dirty tactics.
Yeah, dirty tactics. Typical Irish, in at the side, slow the ball down, that sort of stuff. And then also La Rochelle away. I mean, how many people win at La Rochelle away on a big European game?
Even saying that, 60 minutes in, we were still giving them a good go.
And sadly speaking, we did speculate last week about how seriously we're going to take the game, but in the end, we put out a fairly fully loaded side. They put out a fully loaded side. And in general, I felt it was a good game of rugby.
It was a brilliant game of
rugby.
Well,
it was a brilliant game because it took it down to...
We went to the wire.
It went to the wire. It went down to 78 minutes where we didn't know, which team were going to win. So fair play. A great Champions Cup tie.
Yeah. And I was expecting us to play a tin pot team that we would just roll
and we got copper plated, didn't we?
Yeah.
No tin pot, copper plated, gold plated,
it was
platinum plated.
It was platinum.
Maybe not platinum.
It almost felt like we were going into the Colosseum.
It did. And I mean, I think the thing was, joking aside, we knew it was going to be Benetton are a good side. They're the premier team in Italy. And they're doing all right in the URC.
Am I right? Yeah.
They beat Bath at home. We knew, having spoken to Andy, that they were booming up for this game. They've obviously watched the video. They know that the way Bristol play. They know that they had to go hard against us. They had to win the collisions. So I think, in general, without going into granular detail, the fact we won that game was a great result.
What I loved about it is actually they came to Ashton Gate and they attacked us.
Yeah.
And I love that because, a lot of teams can probably come to Ashton Gate and kind of sit back almost and kind of, try and nullify what we do. Yeah. But actually they didn't give zero, did they? And they came to Ashton Gate, they came to BS3, they played their game, and I loved the fact that they did that. And I'll tell you what, like Miles said, they actually gave us a run for our money right up to the last minute. And fair fair play to Benetton. I thought they were, Trevisa, I thought they were brilliant all day long.
Miles, your thoughts?
Absolutely. I think, we chatted to Andy Uren last week. He played absolute blinder today.
Thought you looked good.
Yeah, he looked good.
He
His
looked
kicks were
better.
good. He looked, well, better than playing Ashton Gate.
Yeah.
His throws were phenomenal.
Passes,
his
Miles.
passes.
He's not a hooker. He's a scrum half.
His
passed it,
passes
yeah.
to the 10 inside, the scrum, the flight.
Hang on, Miles. Take a moment. Right, start
It's been
again.
a long day.
Let's just get the basis.
Let's get the
Andy-
basics.
Miles has had a couple of
Andy-
sherbets.
Miles has had a few sherbets. Right, Andy's a scrum half.
Andy's a scrum half. He passes to the number 10.
He passes it. Well, or he misses out the 10 and goes.
We
but,
didn't know. His passes were such speed and such accuracy. He was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
And over the whole summary of the game, despite us getting the win, I thought he played a more clinical game than our number 9. And hats off to Andy. He was absolutely brilliant. They didn't quite get the result, but that was marginal. And I thought, brilliant. He was a better player today than I thought when he left Bristol.
Okay.
Right. I'm going to say, I was absolutely gutted
Yep.
when, we scored a try and he just about knocked it on.
Oh.
And I actually felt really... Don't get me wrong, I always wanted Bears to win, obviously.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
if Bears could have won and Andy Uren scored that try, I would have been happy. Yeah. And it was just so unfortunate. It was the slightest of knock-ons.
It was a great scrum half try.
It was brilliant.
Wasn't it?
Well, we were sat.
To be
Almost.
fair, almost. There was a rather a large gap, but he saw that gap as every scrum half should, and he dived over the line. I think he didn't celebrate because he potentially knew he'd knocked on.
Because when we were in the goal
for him.
I looked at him and thought he paused, and I thought he was thinking about it, and I was thinking, don't do that, you've got to go early. And then I thought even with the pause, our defence around that ruck was so bad.
Yeah.
He had a second chance, went for it, as you say, Miles. Didn't celebrate. I always thought he was doing that thing like footballers do, where they hold their hands up like that, and it's like, don't celebrate. But I realised they all came piling in. They all knew how important that was. They're all piling in on him, and he's like that. And of course, I thought he's just being respectful to the Bears. Yeah. What I realised was he knew full well he'd knocked the ball on, and it was such. I was gutted.
But to be fair, what did he say to us last week? The way to play against Bears.
Yeah.
Hit him on the line speed.
Yeah, you're right.
And,
hit him early.
Hit him
early, hit him hard.
Hit him early, yeah. And that's exactly what Treviso did.
He did.
And fair play to him. It was a hell of a game of rugby.
And it was fun. And I mean, we'll stick with Andy just for one last bit. I mean, I actually, you're right, Mike. I thought his delivery it's brilliant. It feels like he's added an extra sort of bit of pace to his. Yeah. He really his wrist flick with the pass was fantastic. So really, really good to see Andy. But yeah, I mean, ultimately we won it. At one point, and I'm just looking at my notes here. We were. Let me just look at this. It was a tough. It was the first half went to and fro.
Yeah,
we did well in the first half when Santi got sent off for a yellow just before half time, and then came back. We actually scored. We won that. We won that 10 minutes, and essentially we scored our bonus point. I think it was about 55 minutes or so. Certainly wasn't after 60. It was around that time. So it was at the end of the third quarter, and we had our bench on. We had Genji on. We had Ogre on. We put them on. And I thought, we're now cruising to victory. And then, with 70 minutes gone, we were suddenly 35-29 ahead, and we were under the pump. So I don't know. I don't know what that tells us.
I felt there was a couple of, it's just me personally, I felt there was a couple of better tries that were very, very close to borderline forward passes. Yeah. Certainly one just before half time. I don't know. It looked a bit dodgy to me, but it was what it was. They were given, so it was a hell of a battle, wasn't it? Yeah. And to be honest, what a game! I mean, from a neutral point of view, if you're watching that, you're thinking that's a hell of a game of rugby.
Okay, so 70 minutes, we're 25, 30, 20, we're 35, 29 up. So we're basically a try plus conversion ahead. Just below it. So they only need a try and a conversion to win the game. 76 minutes, we've got possession on our halfway line. We do our thing, and then we turn it over. Okay, it doesn't quite work. We turn it over. Maybe we should have booted it long. Who knows? And then they go and score. And it looks like a great try. There's all sorts of like running lines in midfield, missed passes, pop out the back, wraparounds, everything you can think of, every cliche from attacking rugby. And we're thinking, oh my God, have we done this? Have we? We were in the ascendancy. We brought our strong bench on, and now we're about to lose the game. Anyway, been some sort of comment about Fitzy and his relationship with the referees, and I don't think it's Fitzy's fault, but I think there's some sort of feeling that because he's a young captain, he doesn't quite have the gravitas that, say, someone like Itoje's got, or even Jamie George, who thought he was a captain last week before he was told he was going to get sent off for chatting too much. So Fitzy trots over, and for once, Fitzy works. Fitzy has a word with the ref, and the ref is like, okay, goes and has a look at the screen. And anyway, it's a long review. I don't know what it was like, but it was for those watching on telly. But in the stand, it was cold. And this is what Dave Atwood said a couple of weeks ago, wasn't it? It's like, that would have been quite nice where somebody could be using the screen to tell us what the hell's going on. And then they get the blooming play up on the screen, but it's like they need to zoom it in. I couldn't see what the hell was going on. I mean, my eyesight. Anyway, it turns out that it was a marginal Calavetti Revovo gets taken off the ball.
Yeah.
The try scrubbed out, we go and win the game. And probably the right result. But the question I have is, like, if it takes that long to decide whether on the spot, when the ref is right there, he's decided it's okay, and it takes that long to perhaps suggest the referee wasn't right, is that right? Surely there has to be a time limit on how long a TMO has to look at something. And after a minute, if they can't decide, you've got to go with the on-field decision, whether it's against us or not. And I think in the first half, there was something that went with us where there was an on-field decision that took ages. And I just think it raised the issue is that, to me, as watching it as a fan, on the stands, which is the only perspective I had, I thought, that was that was fair play to Benetton. That looked good.
Yeah.
Don't know what you think, boys.
Yeah, I agree. At the end of the day, like...
Oh, mate, I just remembered when you said at the end of the day, you never guess what I've got in my pocket.
Yeah.
Oh, it doesn't work, though. Hang on.
An ill-functioning try.
I've had... it's been in my pocket the whole time. Because last week I forgot to bring... Sorry, for those people, I mean, there might be the odd...
take that to the game?
Yeah, I took this to the game. For any potential Benetton fans who are listening to this podcast for the first time, this is our... Oh, it doesn't work. This is our cliche bell. And we were giving it to a loyal listener who was trying to... wasn't really wanted us to hit it that often. Was trying to focus our minds to not use cliche.
Absolutely.
But when Lee said at the end of the day, that is the worst cliche of all.
Well,
and I realised it was in my pocket.
I'm going to be honest. It actually looks like a witch's tit.
It does. Well, we did say that before. I can't keep my hand off it.
No, just leave it alone.
Anyway, Lee, what were you saying? I can't remember. At the end of the day, Miles has now just knocked over the recording facility.
Leave it alone.
Right. Okay, let's start again. At the end of the day,
I can't even remember what I was talking about.
There'll be people listening to this pod saying, I can remember what Lee was saying because I've been listening. And Lee can't even remember what he was saying 5 minutes ago. And I completely forgotten as well. I think I was talking about the fact that we won the game, but it was a dodgy decision and maybe there should be a time limit on the TMO.
Yeah.
And you were saying, at the end of the day, we're going to have to re-listen to this pod, aren't we? And
at the end of the day, I still can't remember what I was talking about.
I'll tell you what, Lee.
I need a shawarma on North Street.
I think, at the end of the day, do we think that it was a fair result? What do you think, Lee?
Yeah, I did feel we deserved to win. But I just have to, I have to say it was a brilliant game of rugby. From a neutral point of view, brilliant game of rugby. Benetton came over and really gave it a really good go. And that's exactly what Andy Uren said they would do. Mm. And I just thought probably now Miles has got a lot more respect for the Tin Pot Italian club than he did before.
So here's a question, and this is slightly sort of devil's advocate. Do you think we played as well as we played pre-Christmas? Did we look as fluent as we played against Saints? So my question is, and I agree with you, I think we were a bit bits and pieces. Is, what's the implication of that? Have we shot our bolt?
No? Personnel.
You think it's personnel?
Yeah, personnel. So. Absolutely, 100% personnel. We don't have like players like Max Malins, like Gabs, Itoye. AJ's a massive loss. We can't play that way without those guys. So we did what we needed to do today to win the game, and I think, hopefully those guys will be back, and we'll.
I'm going to put a caveat. I thought today. What's that cliche?
Caveat.
Oh, okay. I thought today Harry Byrne played an amazing game for the time he was on. It just showed he missed. Am I right? He missed no kicks to the sticks.
Yeah, 4 tries, 4 kicks. 4
tries, 4 kicks. His kick to the try line. His kick to the penalty line and kick
out of hand.
Kick out of hand was spot on and long. His delivery to the inside centre was just very good and clinical. Yeah, fast. So in a week he's fast. He's learnt that.
Yeah.
I think under the circumstances of injuries we had on the day, and sadly, Batley went off. Back in a fixed boot again. Potentially another player inside centre went off with another ankle injury.
Jack Bates. It's no secret. We saw Jack Bates in a boot.
We are looking. Injury crisis has got potentially worse.
Yeah.
Luckily, we'll come on to talk about next week, but it's looking absolutely dire on the injury front. We've been lucky to get in such a quality number 10 as Harry Byrne. But moving forward, I think we're in real flipping trouble. In the way we try and play off the number 9 and off the 10 of AJ, we haven't got that. We haven't got that to rely on.
I mean, I would say a couple of things. I thought early on, when they were kind of putting pressure on us, Byrne did a couple of things. He kicked one long into their 22. He chipped one over. He did what we needed to do against Sale on that Friday night.
I agree.
But of course, that was just, it is what it is. It wasn't the time. And AJ played that game and then went off. I think that gave me a lot of confidence for the future, that I think he looks like a class operator that I don't think is far behind AJ in terms of ability. He's got a fantastic fast pass, he's got a great boot. And actually I was saying to Mark in front of me, Byrne, there was a couple of moments where
he's only with us short term.
Yeah, but he's with us to the end of the season, isn't he? And the thing is, there was a couple of things he did which were totally instinctive. He didn't look, he didn't think. Yeah. He's one of those players where he knew what he was doing before the ball came, and then he did it, and that comes from like quality and experience. Yeah. So I agree with you. We are still hamstrung by injuries. Bats going off was a mare. Jack Bates in one of those boot things that you can tell me about, Miles, is not good news, because I think Jack Bates has been the one player that has looked the most consistent in our little down dip in the last few weeks. He's grown to be a Premiership quality player. So fingers crossed for Jack, it's not too bad.
I think the one thing with Jack Bates is that he never gets enough credit.
No.
Because what he does, he fits in, and he's such a. He's almost like a. He just does everything really well. Yeah.
It's like the sort of guy that when he's not there, you notice he's missing, but when he is there...
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, absolutely it is.
So going back to what you said, Miles, is that we're caveating the performance in the sense that it wasn't the most fluent. We were pushed the wire. We want to win big, and we got used to before Christmas to those 2 games, the the Harlequins game and the Leicester game where we destroyed a couple of great teams. I think we have to be realistic. We can't do that all the time. And we can't do that all the time, even when we've got a half-decent side out. But again, today, you know, we pummeled away. We did what we want. I thought it was great to see Fitz. I thought had a much better game. Not that he's had bad games, but he's had difficult games. And it was good to see Fitz playing, getting himself into form. I thought Kieran Marmion played well. I mean, and we have a big what I call a crossover fan. And I apologies for my pronouncing it, but Ilona JPEG, he's a Connacht fan who I think has started following Bristol since we played Connacht, and he's a great interactor on our stuff, and he loves Kieran Marmion. He's always looking for angles.
His favourite player,
and he actually texted me after the game saying, what did he say? He said, I know Marmion played on the wing for Ireland once, but that was years ago at this stage because Marmion ended up on the wing. Yeah. And I said, he's just walked past us. He looked like he survived. And then I got a picture with him, sent that to Ilona straight away, and he said, up the lads. And I love that. I love the fact we've got a Galway Bristolian fan. He also sent me something else.
He's coming over for the Newcastle Falcons
Is he? Right. Yeah. If that's the case, we have to meet him. Absolutely. And we have to buy him a Guinness or whatever he drinks.
Guinness.
Or if he's Irish, we need to buy him a couple.
Of course. I mean, yes, we need to get him a fluffer.
It's got to be plural rather than singular.
Yeah. He's got a And actually, I've just, because I'm now going through Twitter, John Sexton, big fan of the pod, has actually just replied and say, so good to see Andy at Ashton Gate again. A Bristol legend in capital letters, returns from abroad. Nines. Hang on a minute, I've just realised it's an acrostic.
Oh,
here we go, boys. Here we go. A Bristol legend returns from abroad. Nines don't come any better. Dressed in green and so nearly scored, yet bears still tastier than bruschetta.
Oh, that's lovely, but I don't get it.
It's Andy.
Andy.
Andy. That is an acrostic
really
from hell.
That
is incredibly impressive.
From a West Ham football supporter as well.
And
well done, John.
Actually, talking of which, I've just bigged up Ilona. Yeah. And again, I absolutely apologise if I got that wrong. But I've realised he also sent us an acrostic.
Right, go for it.
And it went, it's pretty obvious what it's going to be, but I'll say it anyway.
We're on it.
Mounting injuries, always nerve-wracking, really need to work on discipline, massive luck of the green, interesting defence, oh dear the heart rate, never really comfortable.
Marmion.
He loves Marmion. And why wouldn't he?
Yeah.
Because I actually think Kieran's got better and better since he's been here.
When Ilona comes over for the Newcastle game, we'll get it all together.
We will.
We'll make sure Kieran's there in time.
Yeah, we'll try and catch up.
Yeah, we'll make it happen.
So anyway, that was a little bit distraction with fan interaction. Is there anything more we can say about the game? I feel like when you go to a live game and then you do a pod straight after, I don't feel like I can remember much more. My instinct was I quite enjoyed that game. But then I talked to a few people afterwards. They said, it was a bit disjointed.
My instinct was that we were well ahead and dominating the game. You're right, at 63 minutes, and we were heading for an absolute blinders to easy win.
Put the foot down.
But then they came back.
I know.
And then their inside centres, who are the Italian international.
Well, Menoncello.
Yeah. Scored some amazing tries.
They're good players.
And there was nothing against the Bristol defence. They were just too good. And bar, the decision that went against their way, they could have easily have won that. And so,
Do you think we switched off?
I think so. I've written that down. So. Like when you think that we brought Genji on, we brought Ogre on, we brought Harry on at various times. There is. I'm not saying consciously, because of course these boys come on and give 100%. But I just wonder whether subconsciously, even the disruption of just a few new players in different positions
before the game was won.
And it happens.
You're absolutely right. And sorry to interject. You can think that, but we were playing the whole of the backs in the wrong position. Were we not?
Well, we had Marmion on the wing.
Marvin on the wing.
Marvin.
Who was in the centre?
Well, in the end, we had Lane.
Yeah,
doing first receiver.
Lane at first receiver at 10. So you're right.
Then Yancey
came.
Through
no fault of Ray's or injuries, we were defaulted to switching to players in the wrong position. Potentially that's why we switched off or playing out of our position, and Connacht just picked.
Hang on a minute, Miles. Connacht?
Benetton.
He's
really gone. Isn't
he's gone.
Too many
Right.
beers.
He's forgotten about the Tin Pot Italian team.
Too many
now.
beers.
He's gone to the Tin
Benetton.
Pot Irish team.
Actually, talking of that, can I just say one thing?
Yeah.
Because Miles has lost it. When we were there early, they were warming up. I did an Instagram live.
Connacht.
I did an Instagram live of them warming up. Do you know the first person to join? You won't know this, Lee, but when you do an Instagram live, people who are your followers then start joining, and you can wave at them. First person to join was Joe Joyce. Joe Joyce. I couldn't believe it.
I'll tell you something about Joycey. He had an absolute stormer yesterday.
Yeah.
He dictated everything on that pitch.
And Piers O'Connor did as well.
Piers O'Connor was brilliant, but Joycey was literally close to
they
my
did
man of the match.
absolutely brilliant, those two.
They played Leon, didn't they?
Yeah. And Semi Randrandra got sent off, didn't he?
did.
Got a yellow.
Yeah, he did.
That's right, yeah. Joycey was brilliant, I'll tell you what.
See, to me, that is what I love about rugby in this country, is that Joe Joyce is
The
a
Bristol legend,
proper
through and
organic rugby player who makes the most of his skills in a particular way, and then he does it at Bristol, then he goes somewhere else, and then he comes up against the guy that was like the superstar at Bristol
On his own team.
and basically is
Smashes the
better.
shit out of him.
Yeah. Absolutely love it.
That is what I love about rugby.
And I love the fact he had cropped hair as well. He looked the part.
Good lad.
Love him.
So if Joycey listens, and I think he does listen,
He does.
I think fair play to you, mate. You are it's just unbelievable. And you and Piers, and give Piers a little wave from us, because maybe we should try and chat to Piers. Because we've done ex-Bears. Piers is the next boy. Because we were talking about this the other day, is that we've done Dave Atwood, Joe Joyce, Callum Sheedy, Dan Thomas, Andy Uren, Ian Madigan. We need ex-players.
Maybe
Piers O'Connor.
Yeah, we've had Joycey on. Piers
Yes.
O'Connor.
I'll tell you what would be good, actually, if we asked the listeners.
Who do they want?
Yeah. I mean, that genuinely.
But
that
I
would be
think we need to
pretty
stick with
cool.
people relatively close to leaving. Anyway, I think we went off a tangent there, boys. I feel there's a sense in the room that we're losing the will to talk about this game. I don't think there's much more. So I've got a few things I want to. So we've got any other business, boys. I think people don't want to hear us rambling on. So we've any other business, right? I'm going to go through these and I'm going to ask you for comments.
Go for it. Yeah.
So first, there is an organisation out there called Dream 15 Rugby. It's a fantasy league team. They've been in touch with me before.
Right.
Oh my God, it's Stoner. Hang on a minute, it's Stoner. Sorry to listeners, but our friend Stoner has just walked past the Bristol Beer Factory and he's sticking his face in there. I've got to keep talking. He's now giving us rude signs. I feel like I'm going to have to stop the podcast here just for a moment. Okay, big news.
Big news. Biggest news of the week.
We have been joined by one of our good friends and also long-time listeners, Mr. Simon Stone, who was walking past the Bristol Beer Factory tap room, stuck his nostril on the window, and because we can do this, we've let him in. So, Simon.
Good evening.
It's great to see you. You have appeared on the pod before. You gave us a little summary from an away game in Falklands a couple of seasons ago, and it was very good. It was very good. But we've been bantering away. Miles is pretty drunk, so I'm not sure how lucid our analysis is. But now you're here, what do you think? Tell us about what your thoughts of the game were.
Today's game was a good game, actually.
Yeah, good. That's what we said.
I think the team that we put out was strong with a good bench, and we powered through at the end with a little bit of luck, I think, from the referee for that last phase.
Yeah. Well, mate, it's good that you came in because that's pretty much what we said. Well, we said it in about half an hour, and you said it in about 30 seconds. So that's good.
It perfectly.
But anyway, we were well before you stuck your nose against the window. We were talking about something which I've forgotten. And what was it? Oh no, we were talking about any other business. We've done the game.
Yeah.
We're on to any other business. You may as well stay and finish off. We might ask you a few things. So the any other business was we got a little tweet from Dream Rugby 15 Fancy League, and I've had some bants with them, and they're kind of like us actually. They run this Fancy League thing, but they posted a graphic of top 10 fly halves this season in terms of their points.
Okay. Yeah.
And top was AJ McGinty on 46 points. They're I don't know what quite.
In their criteria, yeah.
Marcus Smith on 38, Finn Russell on 36, and this is with AJ not playing, obviously going off on the Sale game. So what I was going to ask you boys is, what does that tell us? What points comes from the fact that AJ is essentially the best fly half in the Premiership so far this season? What do you think about that? What are the points that it raises?
Okay, the first thing I would say is we have to be very careful about talking about AJ being the best.
Yep. I'm just saying points.
Yeah.
Evidence-based.
Yeah, to that criteria.
Yeah.
But what I would say is, going from a Bristol Bears point of view, AJ is absolutely diamond to what we do.
Yeah.
So without him, we actually don't function as a team.
Well, my point was that is why we're where we are.
Yeah.
Even though he's been injured a couple of, that's why that is why we are second in the table at the moment.
The thing I love about AJ is that he can mix his game up. Like everyone, Bath supporters talk about Finn Russell, but actually, I think he's got so many mistakes in his game that actually what he gives you in terms of the quality, he can actually take away from the mistakes.
Yeah.
I think AJ actually really doesn't ever let us down.
Cool.
Does he?
I mean, and the other thing I think it tells us is that how much we miss him.
No, absolutely.
Simon, you look like you want to say something.
I think AJ has been a standout 10 for this year, better than we would expect. I think Finn Russell is definitely one step beyond with regards to a 10.
Yeah.
Especially if you look at tonight's performance at Bath, where he scored a try and several other moves all linked to him. So I think
Lions fly half.
I think it's between him and AJ for the 10 this year in the Premiership.
Yeah, fair play. Okay, moving on, because we haven't got much time.
No, go for it.
On my any other business. Women's, the Bears women.
Well,
so just to set the context, massive game at the gate last week. Si, were you there?
Yes.
Yeah, of course you were.
We were there.
Si was there.
I was there, sorry.
10 Miles was there. I almost got there, but I was driving back from Saracens, didn't make it in time, but I watched it on TNT because it was even on TNT Sports. Context, obviously moved from Shaftesbury Park because Ilona Maher was going to play, allegedly, but she'd been on social saying, I might not play, but in the end she was put on the bench. Massive crowd, playing against Gloucester Hartbury, well, 2 times winners. A lot of people there. Ilona on the bench, comes on in 60 minutes, doesn't touch the ball, does a couple of rucks. We then get outpowered by Hartbury. They win, and they show us that actually it's not all about social media.
Absolutely.
It's about playing proper rugby.
Wasn't that last week though?
Yeah, that was last week.
We just
Should we talk about this?
Yeah, let's
But
talk
the point
about
I'm
this
trying
week.
to say is the context is that on the back of that, it's like we need to start winning a few games for the Bears women because they ain't got that many left.
No.
Anyway, she's then Millie David sadly gets injured in that game, who's been our out and out try scorer. Ilona gets the 11
pictures on the wing,
shirt, and today we were kind of Mars, you had it on your phone.
Well,
we were kind of following it. Anyway, Bears women win away at Chiefs, who had a great start season. I can't remember the score, but
41-31.
and we were
41-31.
watching, and Ilona gets a try that we're all hoping for, and it wasn't just a try; it was a Jonah Lomu-esque try where she gets the ball down the blind side. She just powers
through, knocks over a defender,
carries on
and
running.
scores.
So
It's lovely.
The point I'm trying to make is that that's a great result because they really needed to get their mojo back after last week. 10,000 people there, and they lose to some proper operators.
Yeah.
There is, I think, 5 games to go because they've got to rearrange that
Against
Chiefs
at
game.
home.
Yeah, Chiefs game got
The point I'm trying to make is next Saturday, Leicester Tigers at Ashton Gate. Leicester Tigers got pumped 100-0 by Saracens.
I mean, the thing is, that's not good for the game.
It's not good.
anyway.
Not good. It's not good, but it does say to the Bears that's got to
a
be
winnable
5
game.
points in the bag. And of course, now Ilona's scored, and it's at Ashton Gate. I imagine we need to get some tickets.
From the information I've been told, Kieran Bevan coming back at 10.
Mate.
Kieran
Bevan, 9. Scrum half,
coming back at 9.
Made a big
from
difference.
the Welsh team.
Well, I looked
made
at,
a massive difference.
luckily because of the lowish crowd numbers today, there was decent internet down at Ashton Gate, and I followed the game on TNT, and we looked there's some brilliant, powerful tries, including Ilona Maher, and there's a lovely pop inside by Maher out to the wing. We scored another try. So you're right, Si. I think next week that game against Leicester, which we were saying would be a tough win, based on the big game at Quins at Christmas, is now looking like that is a must-win 5-pointer.
No offence to Leicester Tigers.
No offence, but that is doable. We need to double down, get 5-pointers, and it's seriously, that is the game that's going to push us into the top. The Bristol West into the top.
Because I think after that we've got Loughborough Lightning, we've got Ealing Trailfinders, we've got Chiefs again. And then the last game of the season is Quins.
It's toughie. It's Quins away.
But I think we could be. It looks to me like Exeter's the team that's just dropping a little bit.
The advertising at Ealing, if you've seen it, is Ealing versus Amaya.
Yeah,
really,
which is exciting stuff to see.
And actually, I mean, I it's one of these difficult things where you think that she's come on the back of this amazing social media background, amazing messaging. But fundamentally, she's come here to play rugby, and she's come to the best league in the world because she wants to get in the 15s. So that they have to kind of get this kind of balance between it not being about social media; it's about actually delivering
the rugby.
And I think today is a good day for that because she's clearly proven that she is good enough.
Yeah, and I just want to second that. Actually, it needs to be about Bristol Bears.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, that's what we're all there for. Bristol Bears. Get the social media stuff and everything else that we're doing, but ultimately, the team is what as the main focus.
I agree.
And I think if it means that more people go to Ealing Trailfinders and more people go to Loughborough Lightning and more people go here, brilliant.
Yeah.
Bring it on. Bring it on. So that was it. So up the Bears.
So that's
women.
next. So this is just to reiterate. So next Saturday,
1 o'clock kickoff.
1 o'clock down at Ashton Gate.
Yeah, at the
game's
moment,
been moved.
Only the Dolman's open, but
so
we need to. What we need is to get the South Stand open.
Yeah, get your tickets. Pete and I will be down there. We'll be supporting.
And I would say to all of those fans that went down last week and saw, expecting to see Ilona, she came on 60, difficult game. Big opposition.
Hartby were good.
Don't be disillusioned by that.
The game was gone.
Yeah, the game was gone when she came on.
She came on.
But I think it actually come down on Saturday to see proper
I think
fireworks.
it'll be a great game. Yeah. Great game next Saturday.
And I think the flag will be down there. The Bears will be on the flag.
Will be there. Yeah. Can we just say now, it's a beautiful thing to have Simon Stone with us.
Yeah.
Can I just say actually, because it's really important for us as the main thing that we do is listeners are massively important to us. Because without them,
this is the first.
We wouldn't have a podcast.
And this is a first. Right. Normally, we ask listeners for comments. We've actually had a listener come in through the door,
literally,
that's the first.
Up against the glass.
First listener who's peered through the glass and tracked us down.
Just to set a scene, we are on our own in the Bristol Beer Factory that is closed.
Yeah.
And everything is quiet around,
it's
and
no
nobody walks
closed.
past. and Simon Stone walked past and stuck his nose against the window. That don't happen.
No.
That don't happen on the Love of Rugby podcast.
No,
it doesn't happen on the Rugby podcast. It doesn't happen on Rugby Union Weekly, does it? So vote for us.
Because Stoner can't get amongst those podcasts.
And on that basis, I'd like to ask Simon. You've been a Bristol Bears fan for a long time now, haven't you?
25 plus.
25. What got you into Bristol Bears? So obviously before Bears, it was Bristol Rugby.
Just basically with my dad, bless his soul. As a kid, running up and down the terrace at the Men. And the letters were on the back of our shirts.
Yeah.
and I could run up and down. So on the first half, I'd be one end, and I'd run up and down, go down the other end for the second half.
So it's beautiful.
And the
isn't
game's moved on. I still love the game though.
it? Yeah.
We could tell.
Yeah, love it. Love the game, and I want us to have a positive result next week. But I would rather us focus on the 5 points off of Newcastle.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Perhaps we'll have a. Perhaps
that was our last
Perhaps we'll
thing.
finish on that.
Yeah, because we like to preview games,
Yeah.
but I think the reality is Claremont, we've looked at the table.
So Claremont are sitting fourth in the top 14 of the French league. They've got
They're an
14
operator.
games played, 8 wins.
They don't lose at home very often, do they, Miles?
So we've got a tough game. So we need to, Pat Lam needs to sort of say, do we focus that? Do we try and get anything from it?
I mean,
Or not.
we have got at least an 8-day turnaround because Falcons is a Sunday.
Yeah.
So you could put quite a big team out against Claremont. You're going away. What we don't want to do is go out of both cups at the same night like we did last time at Connacht.
you're
So
right.
we don't really want to come bottom. So we need to try and get something from
what-
Claremont. But it's going to be tough.
Well, let's pass it around the table then. Pete,
Yeah.
what do we do? What
Personally-
do we go for it at Claremont?
I think we go for it at Claremont because I think we've got a slightly longer turnaround for Falcons. And if there are any issues, we can recover. So,
Sorry?
For me, take an emerging squad to Claremont, focus on the 5 points to sit second in the Premier League, because that's where, if we're going to have a chance this year, that's where we need to focus.
So no European Cup.
Don't think so.
Miles?
I agree. It's looking pretty dim in the European Cup. Do we try and get a point that goes to the Challenge Cup? No. Let's focus on what Si said. Focus on the Prem, where we're sitting second in the table, and let's send an emerging squad next week.
So you just copied what Simon said?
Yeah,
Fair
pretty
enough.
much.
Illy?
It's tough for me because I still want us to see us challenging Europe, and especially the Challenge Cup. I think would be
Literally
something that we
challenging Europe.
literally could.
Challenging Europe.
We literally could. It's a cup that we could win.
What, the challenge?
We could literally win the
Cup.
challenge of the
Yeah,
Challenge
but it's
Cup.
the second.
I agree with you.
It's the
Mate,
second-rate cup.
To me,
yeah?
there's two sides on this table. There's Lee and me,
Yeah, fair play.
and there's Miles and Simon.
Yeah.
And I will leave it at that.
It's challenging. The Challenge Cup is challenging nothing.
Yeah, Miles.
That's from our side of the table.
Miles, it's the same cup that we won in 2020.
We're
When I
proud
was
winners.
carrying you
Cup
away-
holders.
When I was carrying you away
In a
in
pram.
You were in a
freaking
pram. Like that was
God's
your.
sake.
You told me
So-
that was the best night of your life, and you've
exactly.
never had a better night than that in your
Absolutely.
whole life. Even like in your marriage, and you're telling me you're fobbing off
Yeah.
the chance
I know.
of being in a pram
And now he's dissing
again.
It.
No, I'm dissing it.
Now he's dissing it to come second
Yeah.
in a Premiership.
Yeah.
All right, we're joking.
I do get the point that you boys are making.
Of course
and
I do.
and it is valid. And it is an uphill struggle. I mean, to go into Claremont and win,
it's hard. It's tough.
It's tough.
It's pretty much
But you know what? I
impossible,
don't know. I agree. I kind
I
of
see
agree.
where you're coming from, because I know where you're coming from. We discussed this today. You would relish the chance of flying to a Challenge Cup away game.
We'd like a last
that
16
you could,
game.
you could fly to from Bristol in a
Love it,
nice,
Simon.
in a nice Marchy climate, but
A spring sun.
Having
sun.
done La Rochelle away,
Yeah.
having done Parc de France, having done several European away games, it's gone this year, Europe, for Bristol.
right.
Okay, you
There's
put your
a man.
passport away already.
You've been there. Passports.
And I think it would be much better to cement our position in the Premiership and then take the 6-week rest, training up, getting on with it, in-house, getting the people up together so that we're able to perform as we need to in the closing section of the Premier League.
Right. That all makes total sense to me.
Rationally.
Total sense.
Rationally.
But what I would say is, this really is our last big hurrah before the Six Nations.
Yeah.
We're going to have a load of boys back, right? Hopefully, all our injured players are going to be back during the Six Nations. So why don't we just give it a go?
There is no right or wrong answer.
No,
boys.
that's right.
That's what it's about. It's about opinions. We all respect each other. Right, on that note, talking about opinions, players wearing tights. I got a bit of pelters last week about joking jovially about players
we
wearing
need to
tights at
mention
Saracens.
this seriously as
And I
well.
kind of did it as a bit of a joke because I know that the reason they wear tights at Gloucester, Newcastle,
It's because it
hurts.
Yeah.
And because
plastic bloody pitch.
And I know that, but I kind of used it as a bit of a gag to talk about, like, imagine the conversation in this changing room. Rich Lane pulls his tights on. And I had
surely everyone knew that we were having a joke
I know,
about
but I did get a bit of, not really pushback, but a few people commented like they said, well, the reason they wear tights is because they get burns. Yeah. And I had a few photographs sent to me. And it's like, I know that. I know that, but the point is that not everyone wears tights, even when they know they're going to get burned. So what does that tell you about those, that there are some players who think, you know what, I don't care. Pain don't hurt.
No,
As the late Patrick Swayze said on Dirty Dancing, pain don't hurt. But I do understand that I probably went on about it a little bit too much.
No. We've got to be honest here, right? We were having a laugh.
Yeah.
Right? We were having a laugh. And the fact is, playing on those pitches, we know full well, right, that you can get some serious injuries, right? And the burns that you can get are awful, right? I can't remember who actually texted in and
I don't know.
said to
It was
us
on the
about
forum
I
more than
don't know.
anything.
But taking all that shit aside, right? We were just having a laugh.
Yeah.
We were just.
But
it was
also, there's a
tongue-in-cheek.
serious point there, is that actually if it does cause injury, like burns injury, to play on a plastic pitch, why is that allowed anyway?
Yeah.
I mean, you get injuries by playing on grass pitches, like, breaking injuries, muscular injuries. Why is it even allowed that there's the chance of getting a burn injury?
Yeah.
So that's I'm going to leave it at that.
And we're talking about professional.
We're talking about a proper game,
athletes,
and people are being put in danger,
Yeah.
and they worry about head contact and all this sort of stuff and tackling height, and then they let people go on a plastic pitch where they feel that they have to wear a pair of tights to stop themselves getting injured.
Which is pretty
and that
disgusting.
in itself might be a joking, like something that we could joke about. Actually, it's a serious point. It's like, why is that allowed?
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm going to leave it there because that's all I wanted to say on the matter.
Are we going to do our finale?
What is our finale?
Well, you know our finale is stay safe.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, what Lee's trying to say is we're at the end of the pod now, and we always say 3 things, which is have a great week, stay safe, and...
Come on, you bears!
Hello, this is Pete. It wasn't just Stoner who we got contributions from. I also forgot that we had a little contribution after the game from the son of a very good friend of mine who was very keen to tell us what he thought of the game, and I forgot to put it in the main thing. So here we go. Here are the thoughts of Harry Trenchard.
Okay, so I'm with Harry Trenchard. He's a junior Bear. He's a big rugby player. I think you're a scrum half. Tell me what you thought of the game today.
Yeah, I thought it was a good game today. We weren't quite at our best, but still played some good rugby. We moved out, but the ball wasn't quite flowing as it sometimes is in the backs. But we had good physicality, took the ball up well, and hit the rucks with strength, and I thought it was good.
And who did you think played well for the Bears today?
Van Rensburg always plays well. Ogre did well in the scrums when he came on. I don't know who played best. Maybe
because you're a scrum half, so who do you prefer?
I think
out of
probably Harry
Van...
Thacker probably
Harry
played
Thacker,
the best.
he had a good game, didn't he?
He did have a good
that's
game.
good.